Thank you. Liberal Democrat spokesperson Steve Darling.
Thank you, and it is a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, Christine Jardine. And may I say that I would like to congratulate the member for Poole on obtaining this extremely important debate. PIP is a benefit, not an out-of-work benefit, as members have alluded to today. It is a benefit that actually not gives people their best lives, it makes them live lives that are bearable. That's the reality of it. It makes what many of us in this room would think is a challenging life, just being able to get over that rather than actually, living your best life.
Would you give way on that point?
With pleasure.
I thank the Honourable Gentleman for giving way. I spoke to Jacqueline from Street. She's unable to work. She's absolutely desperate, and heartbreakingly, she told me that if her PIP is removed, she is prepared to take her own life. Does the honourable member recognise that the vital support that PIP payments provide to the most vulnerable in society is not a luxury, but a lifeline?
Thank you. And my honourable friend is quite right to highlight this. There are, I am, and as I'm sure many colleagues have, received really quite disturbing commentary from constituents in my constituency of Torbay, where people are desperately worried 18 months ahead of any reductions. Joseph Rowntree Foundation highlighted there are some key barriers around poverty. Members have already alluded to the extra cost of living. One that I'm particularly alive to as a disabled person myself going to a special educational needs school was the lack of ambition for youngsters. It was an exception in my school if you did an O-level. It was CSEs was what you're expected to do at the highest, and so that means that there is a significant lower of educational attainment for people with disabilities. Also, the members have already alluded to barriers of being able to get into work. There can be just simple misunderstandings of how people with disabilities can do things, they may just have to do them a little differently. And it was with great pleasure earlier on today, earlier on this week, that I met with Turning Heads, a community interest company run by Alan Tilley for people with learning disabilities. And it is really appropriate as it is Learning Disability Week. And he shared with us how 75% of people with learning disabilities are out of work, and 86% of those people want to work. And the access to work system. With pleasure.
Rachel Gilmore.
The honourable member just reminded me of a remarkable institution in my constituency of Tiverton and Minehead. It's called Fox's Hotel, and it trains people with mental disabilities to become employed in hotels and hospitality centres across the country. In fact, we will have one young lady from Fox's working in our kitchens in the House of Commons. So it's not all doom and gloom, but suffice it to say that Fox's is known within this disabled community as the Oxbridge. It is unique, it is not the norm. Did you know that? Sorry, did the honourable member know that?
Steve Darling.
And I'm reminded of the gentleman who runs Strictly this week, who said what you need is opportunity, support and determination as somebody who has a disability, and that just demonstrates that in spades. But as far as the real challenges that we have, access to work, I won't spend too much time on that, but it is a broken system and it should be there to support people, but it undermines them because there are massive delays in assessments, and also I've had in South Devon businesses closed down for supporting people because they are owed so much money, the No Limits Cafe in Newton Abbot, because there was the lack of money for them to continue because of the arrears that they were owed by access to work. In conclusion, I'm really concerned how ministers are getting really confused, and I'll be extremely upset if they're starting to do this today, around employment and PIP, because they should not be confused. It is purely about ensuring that people are able to live what many of us would see as normal lives. Also, I'm really concerned about how the cuts to PIP, and I represent the most deprived community in Torbay that has a Liberal Democrat representative, we will see cash being sucked out of some of our most deprived communities across the country, money that would be going to people who would be doing support work as cleaning, helping people going shopping, taxes and all that being sucked out of our already most impoverished communities. So there are some real challenges there. And then the real killer here is how many people with 150,000 with carer support funding could be losing that. That's £12,000 per household could be lost. That will be pushing people deeper and deeper into poverty and further into destitution. So I would say to the Minister, with pleasure.
Neil Coyle.
Those of us here today, whether the disability employment gap or disability poverty gap rose or fell when his party was in government.
Thank you for that intervention. I always look with great relish to your intervention. But as far as the Minister is concerned, I'm really concerned that there's been a lack of consultation around these cuts, that it is perverse that that is the case. And, Chair, I'm really concerned that the government are potentially rushing these proposals through, maybe not even having a bill committee, but having a committee of the whole House. So will the Minister please give some assurance that it will receive appropriate scrutiny through the rest of Parliament? Thank you, Chair.
Opposition spokesperson